Therapy Explained, where we explain, demystify, and destigmatize mental health and mental health treatment. My name is Deniss Planner. I'm a licensed therapist and mental health advocate, and your host here at Therapy Explained. Today, we're going to be talking about ways to build resiliency in your mental health, specifically when we're talking about workplace mental health. Before we dive into it, as always, remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you find this video useful or if you feel that you learned something at any point throughout the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. So without further ado, let's talk about ways to build resiliency and keep yourself from getting into the cycle of burnout. I have another video on the cycle of burnout and what it is and what it looks like. I also have another video on the red flags of burnout and things to look out for so that you kind of start to figure out maybe when you're starting to feel a little bit toasty and not quite yet burnt out, to be a little bit more proactive with it. The thing about the cycle of burnout is that we will let ourselves get extremely burnt out and then take a few days. Then when you get back to work, you end up engaging in the same behaviors that got you into burnout in the first place. And then the cycle of burnout gets shorter and shorter. So today I want to help you build some resiliency so that you're a little bit more proactive in identifying when you're going to be burnt out, but most importantly, so that you don't find yourself in the cycle of burnout. Number one, work on establishing boundaries. We talk a lot about boundaries in this channel, so go ahead and check out that playlist if you're interested in learning more. But here are a few very simple ways in which you can start to establish some boundaries at work. Here in California, where I'm at, you are entitled to at least 30 minutes of lunch and 2 15-minute paid breaks. I highly encourage you to put those in your calendar. Whatever meeting scheduling system that your company is using, go ahead and schedule in your lunch break. It should be blocked off at least 30 minutes, if not an hour, and then 2 15 minutes, ideally one earlier in the day, and then another one later in the day, halfway through between your lunch and your clocking out hour. Now, this is your time to refresh. So if you're taking that lunch, make sure that you are just eating lunch. Don't schedule another meeting. Don't try to multitask. As best as you can, try to take that lunchtime to actually eat. If you have some leftover time, go outside, get some fresh air, listen to some music, do some meditation or yoga, or just sit there and wait until it is time to come back to work. But try to let your body be nourished, be taken care of, and rest. Same thing with those 15-minute breaks that are paid and that are legally yours. I highly encourage you to block those in your calendar and then do something with it. Again, it doesn't have to be go for a jog for 15 minutes, but walk around the building or walk around your house if you're working from home. Get up, get some water, go to the restroom, stretch your body, or just move from wherever you currently are to a different space. Take some deep breaths, relax, and again, just look out the window or just look up. Let your body rest. And speaking of spaces and moving spaces, make sure that you have a designated workspace if you're working from home, whatever that space might be. Even a whole space, a whole room, even better. But if you don't and you have to use your dining table or the corner of your couch as a workspace, that's totally fine. Change the way that that space looks during work hours versus resting hours. And the reason for this is to help your mind also get into that headspace of it is time to be productive and it is time to rest. If you are in the same space working with that stress, with that anxiety, and then you're trying to rest in that same space later in the day, it's going to be very difficult for your body to really recognize, right, that you are not in work mode and that it is okay to rest. And on the flip side, it might actually be difficult for you to get into work mode if you're usually resting in your PJs in that specific area. And if you're working at the office, then you probably already have a desk and dedicated workspace. And the important boundary here is that you are not doing anything else in that space, namely having lunch while you're trying to get work done. And these boundaries are going to be very important for your headspace and for your nervous system to be able to relax and then to be able to concentrate. Learning to say no is also a whole journey, especially in work. A lot of guilt comes up. You end up thinking, if I say no, I'm not going to be a team player. It's going to seem like I am not kind, I'm not supportive. There's a lot of anxious thoughts that can come up when we think about saying no to particular projects. But it's also important for you to start to be honest about what you can actually handle, because that will also give your employer or your manager information about what is actually doable and realistic in your position and with the time that you have. One baby step to learning how to say no is also to remember that you can be supportive, but it doesn't always have to be by you saying yes to everything. You can always help a colleague out with starting your project and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to take that project on, but maybe I could do some initial research, or I can share my outlines or a previous project that might be helpful for whomever does take that project on. Or, you know what, actually, I'm not gonna be able to take that project on myself, but maybe I can be in the background if anybody needs help or has any questions, or anything else like that that feels like you can help somebody and you're saying, like, I'm willing to support as much as I actually can, and then set that boundary for yourself and maintain it. Now, at some point, ideally, you're also giving yourself permission to say no when you realistically just cannot help, even in the background. But when we're talking about baby steps and getting used to saying no, this way can feel a little bit more manageable when you're new to it. And then over time, really be able to say no when the truth is that you can't handle that in that moment. And of course, taking time off. Take that vacation time, make sure that you're resting or that you get to do whatever it is that you want to do with your time off. Now, I know that this also brings up a lot of guilt for us because you end up thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to take this time off. All these projects I'm going to leave to my colleagues, and then they're going to have more work while I'm gone, or I'm going to have to put a pause on certain things, and then when I come back it's going to be so much stuff, and you end up catastrophizing and guilting yourself out of taking that time off. If you're more intentional about how often you want to take some of that time off, or when you want to take that time off and what you want to do with that time, you'll actually feel refreshed and less guilty. Because then also, as you know, if you're going to take some time off in the future, you can start to say maybe no to additional projects because you're going to be taking some time off in a little bit and you're not going to be able to finish it before you leave. And it'll also help you finish off certain projects or let people know what still needs to get done, planned ahead, and then when you take that time off, you can breathe, you can let go, and enjoy your vacation. Number 2 is healthy coping tools. Learning ways to help your body feel soothed and grounded is key. This is an essential part of our mental health journey. Figuring out what it is that your body needs when you're feeling anxious, afraid, sad, particularly when we're talking about work, learning some grounding tools, right? Some ways to help your body feel more grounded, feel calmer, for your muscles to be able to relax, and for your breath to also slow down is going to be key if you're experiencing a lot of stress and anxiety at work. This will allow you to use some of that work or some of these coping tools throughout your day. You might be able to meditate or just take some deep breaths right before an important meeting or any meeting to help your body reset and transition into your next task. You can also use your lunchtime to take a walk, go for a walk, or listen to a podcast while you're doing it, or to some soothing music. Stretch your body during your lunch hour or during those 15-minute breaks that you're scheduled in. Taking care of your mind and body throughout the day is also going to be important so that you can maintain that resiliency and you're building that up for yourself and not letting yourself get so burnt out. And of course, some of these coping tools for work are going to be important, even if you're not doing them during work. Coloring before bedtime or working out before or after work is also going to help your mental health overall. Remember, you're not just in a little bubble during a particular time in your life. It's not like, here's your work mental health, and then here's your personal life mental health, and here's your love and relationship mental health. It's all interconnected, and whatever's going on in one area of your life is going to affect the other. So if you're taking care of yourself outside of work, it's going to help your mental health at work. And if you're not letting work overtake you and burn you out, then you can be more present for the things that are important to you outside of that. Which leads me to my third point, is making sure that you have a life outside of work. If you've seen my red flags of burnout video, you know how important it is to have community and support outside of work. One of the biggest red flags of burnout is that you are spending all of your time at work, thinking about work and doing work. You're not as present with your family, you're skipping out on friends or family events, and you're not able to engage in the hobbies that you used to enjoy. That only gets you deeper and deeper into burnout. So make sure that you have a life outside of work. Prioritize your friendships, your family, the people that are important to you in your life, and try to make sure that you are present for them. Outside of spending time with the people that are important to you, learning some hobbies or allowing yourself to learn something new can also be a good way to build a life outside of work. You want to learn a new language or a new activity, to paint, to dance, whatever it is, I highly encourage you to look up a space in your community where they might have some free or low-cost classes or whatever is in your budget, so that you can build other things in your life that are fulfilling and re-energizing throughout the day. And lastly, traveling does not have to happen just during your vacations. Get to know your neighborhood, get to know your community. Take walks around it if you feel safe enough to do so, or get to know your favorite stores, your favorite shops. Is there a dessert place that you like to go to? Is there a nature space close to you? Is it a park or mountains or the beach or the desert? What is close to you that you enjoy being around? That can also be extremely soothing and grounding and add to the sense of calmness in the middle of all the other stuff that you have to do when we're talking about workplace mental health. Managing your mental health at work is extremely important because some of us really love what we do and we want to make sure that we're present and involved in doing the best that we can. Now, not all of us feel that way about work, which means that it's also very important to take care of our mental health, because if this isn't your passion and your life's passion, the one and most important thing in your life, or a very important thing in your life, then you shouldn't letting it consume you and burn you out is also not going to help. Allowing yourself to have a life outside of it is what's going to help you get through it when you are at work. I hope today's video was a good start to helping you learn how to manage your mental health and keep you from getting into burnout, and most specifically that cycle of burnout, taking time off, coming back, burning yourself out, taking time off again, because overall it just ends up not feeling very good. If it was a help and you liked it, or you feel that you learned something, be sure to give it a thumbs up. As always, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, be sure to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one.